In a dramatic twist, Canelo Alvarez has fired back in a blunt retort at Turki Alalshikh's dismissal of a potential fight with Terence Crawford.
And I say, look, I'm 100% focused on this fight, and I can talk about other fights. Maybe that's why he talked about that today, because I say I'm not ready to talk about other fights. And I don't really ask him for anything. I'm good.
Turki Alalshikh, a prominent Saudi Arabian boxing broker, has been instrumental in the recent surge of high-profile boxing events. Alalshikh was highly enthusiastic about orchestrating a mega fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. He viewed this potential matchup as a monumental event that could elevate the sport even further.
As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
So just so we're clear, so everyone understands, you've already sent an offer to Canelo to fight Terence Crawford if Terence Crawford wins tonight.
But if he doesn't, I want Ortiz.
You want Ortiz? Virgil Ortiz versus Terence Crawford?
Yeah, if they accept.
At this stage of his career, Canelo Alvarez is making decisions primarily based on the financial offers presented to him. In a recent media interaction, Canelo publicly stated that he would require a $150 million offer to consider a fight with Terence Crawford. He emphasized that if Turki Alalshikh or any promoter meets this financial demand, he would be ready to step into the ring without any hesitation.
Of his performance, and do you want to get a fight with him?
If the money is right, I mean...
$100 million? I heard Turkey offered you a big money already.
150.
150?
Canelo Alvarez recently revealed that Turki Alalshikh had reached out to him this week, proposing a fight against Terence Crawford for next February. However, Canelo declined to discuss the fight, as he is currently focused on his title defense against Edgar Berlanga on September 14th. It remains uncertain whether Canelo and Alalshikh will revisit the potential Crawford fight later, or if the high financial demands have deterred further negotiations.
Oh, no, they text me yesterday. If we want to, they have the opportunity to meet here to talk about the next fight, and I say, look, I'm focused 100% on this fight. I don't want to talk about any other.
But in the dramatic turn of events, the deal didn't go well, and Canelo versus Crawford is still the fight that fans are just dreaming of. In a post on X, Turki Alalshikh announced his plans to shift focus to the U.S. boxing market, detailing his future promotional strategy. Alalshikh revealed that he recently concluded an important meeting with his team to plan for upcoming fights in 2024-2025. He stated that he would no longer pursue the Canelo Alvarez fight and would instead concentrate on major U.S.-based bouts, particularly those involving Terence Crawford. This marks a significant change in his promotional approach. Alalshikh wrote, "Just wrapped up an important meeting now with my team, planning for the upcoming fights that we will make for 2024-2025, and added, I decided to disregard the Canelo fight, as I don't want it anymore. Instead, I will be focusing on the U.S. market with bigger fights, especially for the legend Crawford." In recent developments, Canelo Alvarez responded to Turki Alalshikh's statements about not being interested in organizing a fight between Alvarez and Terence Crawford. Canelo expressed that he was not seeking the fight with Crawford anyway, and suggested that Teofimo Lopez might be a more deserving opponent. He urged the fans that his current focus is on his immediate fight and his desire to control the terms and timing of his future bouts. His message to Alalshikh emphasized respect, but also underscored his insistence on having control over his career decisions, stating that any collaboration must be on his terms. He said, "I'm not asking for that fight. I think Teofimo Lopez deserves it more than me. My response to Turkey is this. Yesterday they texted me to talk about the Crawford fight in February, and I said, I'm not going to talk about any other fight. I'm focused 100% on this Edgar Berlanga fight. I respect Turkey, but if he wants to work with me, it needs to be my way." On the other hand, some pros are thinking that this might be done because Crawford failed to deliver an exceptional performance against Israel Madrimov on the 3rd of August. Despite his unanimous win, Crawford has faced criticism, which might lead to the idea of moving several weight classes. Now that Crawford is getting old, maybe putting on weight is making it harder to move. Canelo talked about Crawford's recent bout and how after his change in style, now he might think of standing against him in the ring. Canelo Alvarez shared his thoughts on a potential fight with Terence Crawford, highlighting the challenges posed by Crawford's fighting style. He explained that he typically avoids opponents who move a lot because it can result in less exciting matches. However, Canelo observed that Crawford's movement was more limited in his last fight, which could make a future bout more enticing.
I don't like to fight guys like Crawford because he move a lot and the fight is not that great. I saw Crawford the last fight, and he don't move that much now. So yeah, If the money is right, I mean, why not?
How you think he did at that weight, at 154? How you think Crawford did?
You know, they are a weight class for a reason, and you need to ask him. It's different. I know, in his mind, he think he can do whatever he wants because he's very talented fighter. He's a very good fighter. I like how he fight, but that's why there is
After Canelo demanded $150 million or denied the offer that Turki had made to him, Turki didn't take it lightly and took to his ex and responded. He responded to Canelo Alvarez's statement about respecting him but disliking his business approach. Alalshikh made it clear that Canelo's respect was not a concern for him, focusing instead on the principles guiding his promotional efforts. He wrote, "I heard what Canelo said, that he respects me but doesn't like the way we do business. As for him respecting me, it doesn't matter to me if he does or not." With a reported net worth of $250 million, Canelo Alvarez remains in a position where he cannot be pressured into fights unless he is satisfied with the financial terms. While he would consider fighting Crawford, he made it clear that he would only do so if his conditions were met, reflecting his strong stance on financial and contractual negotiations in his career. Alalshikh further explained that his business model prioritizes arranging major, fairly priced fights, suggesting that Canelo's criticism stemmed from a preference for easier matchups. He then said, "As for the way I do business, I know why he doesn't like it, because I only target big fights at fair prices. So of course anyone who likes easy fights won't like that." Referencing Canelo's past loss to Dimitri Bivol, Alalshikh suggested that since then, Canelo has sought less challenging opponents. He emphasized that he was not the one avoiding top-tier fights with contenders like Benavidez or Crawford. He added, "And I know how he feels after losing to Bivol, so he's been looking for easier fights ever since. Also, I'm not the one who's afraid of fighting Benavidez or Crawford." Although the exact financial terms were not disclosed, it is rumored that Canelo's asking price was $150 million, a figure comparable to the $240 million Floyd Mayweather Jr. earned for fighting Manny Pacquiao. Given Crawford's commercial appeal, such a fight could potentially generate substantial revenue to meet both fighters' financial demands. Alalshikh criticized Canelo for making what he saw as unrealistic financial demands, which he believed were excuses to avoid tougher fights. Turki wrote, "Therefore, I knew he was wasting our time and making excuses with big amounts of money that can't be paid." Concluding his statement, Alalshikh reaffirmed his commitment to organizing major fights that benefit the boxing world, contrasting this with what he perceived as Canelo's preference for easier, more spectacle-driven bouts. "So I'm continuing my way to make big fights that serve the boxing world, and he's on his way to making easy show-only fights." Now, never wonder the amount that Canelo has demanded, but it was implied to be substantial, with Alalshikh commenting on Canelo's desire for big amounts. Given the potential high costs, it seems both Canelo and Crawford would seek significant payouts, potentially making the fight too expensive for even the well-funded Saudi promoters. Alalshikh's eagerness to make the Crawford versus Canelo fight was evident as he actively pursued negotiations and expressed his vision for the bout. He believed that such a high-stakes fight would not only draw significant global attention, but also solidify Saudi Arabia's growing influence in the boxing world. Despite his efforts and initial optimism, the plan faced obstacles and ended in nothing but a brawl. Responding to the remarks, Canelo Alvarez addressed the potential fight with Terence Crawford by making it clear that he is not seeking the bout. Canelo confirmed that he was approached about the fight but declined, stating he was not the one asking for it. He suggested that Alalshikh's public statements were a reaction to his refusal. Canelo emphasized, "If Turki wants me to fight certain fighters, like Terence Crawford for example, he needs to do it my way, not his way."
Canelo dijo Turki. Turki said he's no longer. You're no longer in the running of working with him for the Crawford fight.
I don't really care about it. Look, I'm focused 100% on my fight, and I don't really care about it. They called me yesterday. They text me yesterday if it's possible to talk about our Crawford fight for February or meet to yesterday here in Los Angeles with him. And I said, look, I'm 100% focused on this fight, and I can talk about other fights. Maybe that's why he talked about that today, because I say I'm not ready to talk about other fights. And I don't really ask him for anything. I'm good.
And that's fair, Canelo. You've earned the right. You've earned the right to dictate your career and what you want to do. You've earned the right.
Yeah. Look, I'm good with that. I'm doing. I don't need that kind of things. I'm not looking for that kind of fights. If they want the fight, okay. It's in my way, not in their way.
Following Terence Crawford's victory over Israel Madrimov, the reception to his performance has been mixed, with some critics questioning his ability to compete at higher weight classes. Eddie Hearn, in particular, has voiced his concerns, not only because his fighter Madrimov lost, but also due to his belief that moving up to 168 pounds might be too much for Crawford. Hearn recently commented on Crawford's bout at 168 pounds, suggesting that while some critics view Crawford's performance as lacking, he saw it as a testament to Madrimov's impressive skills. Hearn highlighted that the weight class presents significant challenges for Crawford. However, he also noted that lucrative financial incentives could influence Crawford's decision to continue competing in this weight division if the conditions are right.
I think that we'll actually see a Canelo versus Terence Crawford fight.
I don't think so. I think that it's much too much weight for Terence. The style was difficult, and people will say it was a poor performance from Terence, but let's just say it was a great performance from Madrimov. I think 168 is much too big for Terence, but like he said, if the money's right, he'll fight.
Eddie Hearn addressed the challenges Terence Crawford faced in his recent fight at 154 pounds, noting that adapting to a new weight class can be difficult. He pointed out that Crawford was visibly hurt and marked up during the bout, underscoring the physical demands of fighting a strong opponent like Israel Madrimov in this division. Despite these setbacks, Hearn expressed confidence in Crawford's ability to improve and succeed at this weight. Hearn said, "Definitely that's a stretch, but 154 takes time as well to gel into. Madrimov is a big, strong 154-pounder. And Terence got hurt tonight, he got marked up bad, he got hit a lot, but he's a great fighter, and I'm sure he'll improve and will do well in the division." While everyone was hyping Terence up before the Madrimov fight on August 3rd, after the performance things have taken a turn. When asked about Terence Crawford's performance after his fight with Israel Madrimov, and whether Crawford should move up to 168 pounds to fight Canelo Alvarez, boxing analyst AKOYE had a clear stance. He said, "That's a no for me. I don't think that Crawford has enough pop at 154 to deal with a Canelo. We're talking about a Canelo that can easily go up to 176 to light heavyweight and deal with the power there. You get what I'm saying? I don't think Crawford has anything that would scare Canelo." AKOYE expressed doubts about Crawford's ability to compete effectively against Canelo at a higher weight class, emphasizing the power difference. He pointed out that Canelo's experience and success at even higher weights, such as light heavyweight, highlight the significant physical challenges Crawford would face. He continued, "Now, would it still be an interesting fight? Yeah, from a boxing purist standpoint, I think Crawford has enough to be able to stay away from Canelo long enough to make it interesting points-wise. But I don't think he can hurt Canelo at all. I just don't think he can. But I know Canelo can hurt him. So that fight for me is less exciting after watching the lack of pop that he had at 154. He further explained that, in his view, a good big man typically beats a good little man, implying that Canelo's size and power would give him the upper hand against Crawford. AKOYE acknowledged Crawford's status as the current pound-for-pound best, but felt that moving up to fight Canelo would be too much of a challenge. He noted that Crawford's lack of punching power against Madrimov indicates he wouldn't be able to hurt or scare Canelo into respecting his punches. Consequently, he believed that Canelo would have little to worry about after the initial rounds, making the fight less appealing to him at this point.
Canelo would have been able to press the envelope in spots where Madrimov didn't. And to me, I think Canelo beats Crawford because good big man beats good little man most of the time. So I think that's how that fight would go. Nothing against Crawford. I still think Crawford's still the pound for pound right now. But, that would be biting off more than he could chew, in my opinion, after watching his lack of pop versus Madrimov. I don't think he can hurt Canelo or scare Canelo into respecting anything that he's throwing. After the first half of the fight. I don't think he has anything that Canelo would be worth.
Moving too much in weight classes can unlock Terence's potential, but there comes a time when you have to be zoned out based on the skills and weight together. Dan Rafael thinks the same for the Canelo versus Terence fight. After his last performance, Rafael is not that amazed to suggest him to go to 68, for according to him, he can't sweat Canelo out of his weight class. He said, "I've even before what he did against Madrimov, I always sort of thought that Canelo against Crawford would, for Crawford, be a bridge too far. And there's nothing that I saw on Saturday in his performance against Madrimov that made me change my mind." Rafael explained that he had long believed a fight with Canelo would be too much for Crawford, and Crawford's performance against Madrimov did nothing to alter this opinion. He emphasized that despite Madrimov and Canelo having different skill sets, the fundamental challenges remain. He added then, "I know, like you said, they're different fighters. I mean, obviously Madrimov and Canelo bring different sort of skill sets to the table, but in the end, Crawford was troubled to some degree by a fighter in Madrimov Madrimov, who is not at the level of Canelo or even close at this point in time. Rafael further elaborated that Madrimov, while a formidable opponent, does not compare to Canelo in terms of experience, size, strength, and defensive capabilities. He continued, Canelo is a very, very good defensive fighter. A really subtle defense, the way he blocks punches, tremendous with his counter-punching. It's a hard fight for Crawford. Dan Rafael elaborated on the broader appeal of a potential fight between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. Rafael emphasized that while the fight would undoubtedly attract massive attention and be a major event in the boxing world due to the status of both fighters, he remained skeptical about the actual competitiveness of the match. He concluded that, despite the hype and commercial appeal, the fight itself did not seem promising from a competitive standpoint, especially after witnessing Crawford's recent performance against Madrimov.
That's why he wants it, and I understand if it did happen, it would be a big event because you have arguably the pound-for-pound number one against the biggest star, two different sorts of fan bases, so it would be a big event. But you know, from a in-the-ring perspective, I never really thought much of the match, and I'm more convinced of that now after seeing what unfolded.
Sergio Mora also talked about the 3rd August fight and how after that he thinks that this is Terence's limit to greatness. He thinks that beyond this it would be difficult to maintain the power he already has. Mora acknowledged Crawford's victory, but expressed reservations about Crawford moving beyond 154 pounds.
It's a score, but Madrimov was doing his thing, man. I think the judges got it right. 115, 113. It was a close fight. Very close fight. Crawford had issues. He had issues closing the distance. He had issues with Madrimov's footwork, the feints, the upper body movement. Like Madrimov never stopped moving his upper body. It was like perpetual movement. It's hard to really pin down fighters when they do that. And Madrimov's strong. So
Mora highlighted that while chasing a big payday against Canelo is understandable, the physical demands of moving up to fight someone who has competed as high as 175 pounds are significant. He suggested that Crawford's optimal performance cap is at 154 pounds, recognizing his achievement in conquering 4 weight divisions but cautioning against pushing beyond his physical limits. He said, overall, Crawford won, but I just don't think he should go any higher than 154. You know, so Canelo, yeah, of course you want to chase that big payday, but Canelo fought at 175. I just think the cap of a great fighter in Crawford is 154. 4 divisions. That's greatness to jump that high, but I think that's his limit. Whether it is the deal that is not happening among Turki or Canelo, or the reservations that Terence's team might have for the potential fight, and him moving so much in the weight classes, there is much that is not letting this fight happen. Do you think this fight should be made? Would Terence be able to continue his legacy at 168 too? Do let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to share the video with others who love buds.